Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As you guys can see, we are in the garage today. And yes, that is the Corvette up on race ramps behind us. We are wrapping up the last of the preparations for the Indy half-mile event. You guys should have already seen that video, but we're kind of filming ahead of time. So I have no idea what the car ran. All I know is it's running good now, it's not leaking. Everything seems to be in good shape, and I just drove it for another 40 miles today without a beat. Had no issues. And yeah, so we're gonna be continuing the oiling upgrades that we talked about in the previous video, and that is with the dry sump system. You guys will see we've got some parts here. This is a used LS7 oil pan and a brand new timing cover for the front from General Motors. You guys will see the part number right there. Yeah, so we've got a mix of new and used parts on this. Now we've already gone ahead and cleaned this oil pan out. I might need to clean it again because last time I cleaned it, I think it was probably 6+ months ago. So what we're gonna be doing today is cleaning that out, cleaning out the pickup tube, and also doing some upgrades while we're in there. So let's go ahead and grab a couple wrenches. This is probably gonna be 3 10mm bolts. And yeah, so these are all 10 mil. I have a new gasket to put behind the pickup tube. All right guys, we got the oil pickup tube removed and I've cleaned it out with brake cleaner again. And let's go ahead and show you what we got for the modification for today's video. This will be another piece from Improved Racing. This should look a little familiar, and that is because we have one of these currently in the car with the regular wet sump oil system. So we'll have an insert for the oil pan as well as the oil tank. The oil tank is in the trash bag behind me. As soon as I started gathering parts for the swap, I was like, you know what, let's go ahead and go with the Improved Racing pieces again. And so this piece is basically gonna drop right in. There's really no modification that we're gonna have to do. And you guys can see that I think this is aluminum or stainless. No, it looks like it's aluminum. You know, it basically fits right in. So all that we're really gonna have to do is use this provided spacer and bolt. That spacer is gonna go between the oil pan right here that I'm pointing at and the bottom of the tray. I think the only thing we're gonna have to do is actually get the pickup tube ready, put that in, and then put the baffle around it. So let's go ahead and get the pickup tube cleaned up. Also, I did buy a new gasket. The gasket is part number 12628574. And you guys can see it's just a little paper gasket. Looks exactly like the one that we pulled off. And that's gonna be it. So yeah, we'll have a new gasket on this pickup tube as well as the one that's inside the dry sump tank. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this stuff cleaned up. All right guys, we've got the pickup tube cleaned up. We have the new gasket put on there, and you guys will see the little aluminum spacer right there. That is the spacer provided by Improved Racing. And so all they want you really to do is put the pickup tube back where it goes, just in its normal spot. Nothing's really gonna change there. So that should drop right in. You put your spacer on top of the oil pickup tube. So now that you got the gasket and the spacer installed, you can go ahead and put the baffle in, and we wanna make sure we get the screw. Actually, it dropped right in. We basically want to make sure that this spacer and the longer hardware that we're going to put into it lines up. Now, I did not read if we need to put Loctite on this. I need to read the instructions once again, but that's basically the gist of it. Put the pickup tube in it, make sure you have a gasket on it, put the spacer on top of the pickup tube, put the baffle in, and then put the longer hardware in. Then you guys can just use the stock bolts, and I have those over here. Use the stock bolts for the 2 top bolts. We'll screw those in. They probably torque down to like 8 foot-pounds. All right guys, there is the finished product. We got everything torqued down to 8 foot-pounds, kind of like I predicted. Also, the part number is EGM203. This is the Improved Racing kit for the LS7 and the LS9. I don't think they sell one for the LT4. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I know specifically this is for the C6 stuff. So this is only one half of the C6 ZR1 Z06 kit. There's actually another half. It's very similar to what we have in the car. I'll have a picture of it here. It is the Improved Racing crank scraper, and the setup is different between the dry sump and the wet sump, so we can't reuse what we have. So these kits are actually very dependent on your engine setup, and I don't know what's gonna be, what engine combination we're gonna have, what crank, what rods we use. They actually make very different kits for the dry sump and the wet sump, and you actually can select your rod and combo setup from their drop down on their website, and they'll provide you the kit that you need. Since we don't know what kit we'll be going with right now, we will not be ordering that just yet, because like I said, I don't know what's the future for the rest of the dry sump system, but that is going to be a future purchase. All right, guys, actually one quick update from the video last week. You guys will see we've got the C7 oil tank out. This is the C6 specific bracket, but the rear bracket is the same between the C6 and the C7. So that is going to be this part number right now. It is 12599-355. Simply listed as a front S bracket. And if you guys remember from last week, this hardware is actually from a LS2, LS3 oil pan. It is going to be the shorter bolts. So basically this bracket can only go one way. It won't really fit that way. Well, I guess you could try to fit it that way, but I'm 90% sure that it's supposed to go like this, and we will use our oil pan hardware like we said. I will get these tightened down. All right, we got these two bolts tightened down, and that is going to be a wrap on the mounting for the bottom of the LS7 dry sump tank. All right, guys, to wrap up this dry sump oil video, we actually have another seal to install. And if you guys can see, this is our LS7 LS9 front cover. It's brand new from GM. I think we showed you the part number earlier. For the cover itself, it's 12598293. So that is going to be just the bare cover itself, no bolts, no seal, no gasket. So yeah, and to show the difference, the standard LS2, LS3 dry sump cover is nowhere near this thick. I want to say it's probably goes to about here, and then you've got the crank pulley coming out from after that. So, you know, it's way thicker right here. And speaking of oil pumps, I'm actually not sure what direction we're going to go with that, because like I said, we haven't decided on a motor setup for this dry sump to what we're going to be installing this on. Right now, there is a national back order on the LS7 or the LS9 pump. They're simply not available. K-Tech takes stock oil pumps and basically machines them. I think they port them a little bit. They also put a billet cover on the front of it, but the back of that, it is basically a stock GM oil pump. I think they also maybe put in billet gears inside of it for the pumps to work properly. And so yeah, right now you can't even order those pump kits from K-Tech because they're out, and then General Motors is also out of the LS7 and the LS9 pump. So just not sure which direction we're going to go. I actually was looking at some used pumps online, but then, you know, you kind of run into, okay, has the motor exploded? Is there gouging inside the machine work? Are the gears any good? You know, so I'm kind of like, it's almost not worth spending the $100 or $200 for a pump, send it to K-Tech, and then tell you, well, yeah, we can't use it, it's bad. So it's just not something that I'm really set right now. I think K-Tech is working on a all billet pump, but I imagine that thing will be way more expensive. But, and you know, in the future, that's the only option we might have, is to go with the K-Tech aftermarket fully billet pump. And to go back to a previous video, you guys will remember we started ordering the wire harnesses. That's actually how I kind of found out about the shortage of the LS7 oil pumps, because I started looking on eBay. I think one of the sellers was out of Washington. I forgot the name of the seller, but I ended up looking further on their website, and that's where I found a vast majority of the wire harnesses that we'll be installing in the Corvette at some point in the future. Kind of goes along with this video. I'm just not really sure when or where or how we're going to get all that stuff into the car. But yeah, if you want to see that video, I'll have a link for that up above. So anyway, long story short, we're going to go ahead and get this LS7 seal on here. Part number for the seal is 12585673. That'll go right in here. We have this LS install tool. It's more like an alignment tool, but that'll also help push in the seal. We can just, you know, tap it from the top, and that will push the seal into where it needs to go. And as you can see, we've got our install tool lined up, and we're just gonna tap this with a rubber mallet. You know, just make sure you keep it centered, and just lightly tap this thing on here. And you can stop tapping when you hear the metal sound change. Basically, it's go from a clank to a more solid thud. When you've hit that, that's when you want to stop. All right, guys, we used the little driver to go ahead, get this fully installed, and we're pretty much done with the dry sump conversion parts. And so yeah, I'm just not 100% sure when we're gonna go ahead and get this installed. I was reading the LS2 and LS3 rod length are the same. So maybe we could swap in a LS3 forged crank out of a dry sump LS3, put that in, use the rod and piston that we have. Maybe that's a cheap way to do this conversion, or unfortunately, take the whole thing out, rebuild the whole motor. At this point, I'm just not sure exactly how this is all gonna work out because, like I said, we've got to make some decisions on what we have. And the motor that we have in here is a Ford 6-liter, so I'm just not sure, is it worth tearing it all apart, putting a stock crank back in it when we could do fully aftermarket crank and we already have forged rod and piston. I'm just not sure at this point. So yeah, that's gonna be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, hit that like button. If you guys want to see more updates on the Corvette, perhaps us installing these dry sump parts, hit that subscribe button, turn on your bell notifications. If you guys want to help support the channel, check out all the links down below. I'll try to include part numbers and links to everything that I used. I know those alignment tools, the LS alignment set, I know I got that off Amazon. Include a link to that. Probably the front cover and the seal might be able to provide you links for that as well. And that's gonna be it. Also, make sure you check out our website, BonecrrusherSS.com. We still have those Corvette shirts. We got the ZR2 merch on there as well. Check all that out, and anything you guys pick up there goes right back into these channel, the projects, maybe a future motor build that we'll be doing, just not sure at this point, and all that. That's gonna be it. Thanks, guys. Have a great one.